Good morning, everyone. We are going to start the meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chair Cheryl Brown,
Present.
Vice Chair Jimmy Paver, Commissioner Wilmer Roberts, Commissioner Jan Wenig, Commissioner Rebecca Weber.
I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Is there anyone on that signed in to speak today?
I do not believe so.
We actually have the item listed as action item number 2. We actually find.
Okay. Let's go through action item number 2, administer the housing authority of Travis County oath of office to confirm. That's it?
I didn't realize it was number 2.
Okay.
I thought it was not. I'm gonna take some pictures.
All right, great. So I'm gonna. So I'm gonna read and then you will cite the name and repeat after me. Okay. I,
Rebecca Weber,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Commissioner
of the Office of Commissioner
of the Housing Authority of Travis County, Texas,
of the Housing Authority of Travis County, Texas,
and will do the best of my ability preserve
and will to the best of my ability preserve
and protect
and protect
and defend
and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
I solemnly swear
And I solemnly swear,
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
and I solemnly swear that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
offered,
offered,
or promised to pay,
or promised to pay,
contribute,
contribute,
nor promised to contribute any money
nor promised to contribute any money
or valuable thing,
or valuable thing,
or promise any public office
or promised any public office
of employment as a reward
of employment as a reward
to secure appointment.
to secure appointment.
So help me God.
So help me God. So help me.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, thank you all. Welcome. Ms. Weber. And we are now going to just move forward to item number 4, consent agenda. Item A is to approve the minutes for the April 6th, 2023 regular meeting, and item B is to approve the minutes for the May 4th, 2023 regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the meetings? I move to approve. It's been moved and second. All in favor? Chair, I'll abstain from that. Thank you. Item number 5, the CEO Executive Director's report.
Yes, and so for Ms. Weber's purpose, again, welcome. We'll sort of step you through typically what happens at a meeting. So we will provide a read-ahead packet with all of the major programs included in those. And what we typically will show you at the board meeting is our priorities for the next 30 days. And that's what we're about to show you now with that PowerPoint. We start with the voucher programs and homeless initiatives. And the director of that department is Christina Montes. And she will start with the presentation.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm speaking today. I'm the manager for the Adventures Voucher Program. So,
So we're gonna actually have you come up a little closer so we can make sure you project. It's all right. Everybody likes sitting in the back.
And I have a bug, so I have to.
Oh, okay, all right.
So this month, we were working with our partner agencies for BASH and our EHB program. And we have already all our 34 referrals for our EHB program. And so we have 3 more for our BASH from pending 3 referrals for that program. And that hasn't happened in the last few years. And so we are going to plan to overissue for our EHB program by 15%, so that we can ensure that we have more opportunity for the community to try to lease up some EHB vouchers. And then we're preparing for our COC audit this month. That will happen towards the end of June.
Could you, for Ms. Weber's purposes, give the acronym,
Explain the acronym.
Oh, so EHB is Emergency Housing Voucher. And BASH is for the Veteran Program, and then COC is Continuum of Care. And I oversee all 3 programs.
The continuum of care is.
It's with the homeless. Homeless community. Pretty much everybody is homeless. They're all homeless, but it's the different partnering agencies that we work with ECHO, which is ending community homeless. Yeah. Which is another hub program that we work with as well.
I wanted to mention, Victoria, you made some really key points about the emergency housing voucher program. So I don't think this full board, other than Mr. Wilmer Roberts was here, when we receive those, they have a sunset date. What that means is if we don't utilize those vouchers by September 30th, they get taken away from us completely from the project. So what we've decided to do as a community, both us and the Housing Authority of the City of Austin, is to overissue some of those vouchers. And then if we do end up with vouchers who we need to lease up and we already have our full capacity by September 30th, within the community, we're going to try to find housing with different agencies in the community. So that's why she spoke about that.
And how many do we have?
34.
34.
We have 2 agencies that are direct referrals for those because they are very specific vouchers that come with support services. So we have mental health public defender's office who works with us, and then we also have integral care.
And do we have a good pipeline to fill those?
So that's the reason we are overissuing, because the MHPD clients that are coming, or participants that are coming through, are a little bit harder to house than the people coming directly out of the jail system. So they're a little bit harder to house, but each one of these applicants has somebody that they're working with to help them with housing, find housing. The HB program, I don't know if you all know, also came with a lot of incentives, things like double deposit that we can pay, pay utility arrears. Yeah, there's a lot of perks that came with that project itself, which is why we're really trying to hold on to those vouchers. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question. Did I hear that there was movement on the VASH, the support housing vouchers and bunch of different?
Correct. Yeah, there was movement. We just meeting with our partners. So what she's referring to is the capacity, right? We have 30 full VASH vouchers that we need to fill. And right now we have, I believe it's 25 that may get filled, but we're pending 3 results. And that we haven't had this many at this capacity for many years. So we're really excited about that movement. Yeah.
Duly noted, that's great.
Yeah.
And per your request, we did draft a letter for you all as before the bash. I was just checking with Madeline to see if we in fact had sent you that draft for you to review. And I think you said we did. Right?
I believe we sent it to Mrs. Brown and
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Roberts.
So, and I think you were fine with the letter. So how would you like us to proceed in terms of sending it to the balance of the board to just look at, or?
Yeah, I definitely shared it with the board.
Okay.
It's great. And I think I sent you some edits.
Yes, you
Yes,
sent
we
some
have
edits and
we
they have
made those
been
corrections, so we
reflected.
Just want to know what next steps wise, if
I
you would like
think
to.
we can share the letter.
Okay.
I think also.
So we will send the letter out to the board members, the draft letter, and then get you all's feedback, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with that. I mean, we were asking for your signature, so we could, if you all, well, we'll coordinate that. So Ms. Weber, VASH, the program that for veterans, is something that we've been trying to get more vouchers for. It's a joint program with the VA and HUD. And so the VA has to provide a letter of endorsement because they provide the case management for these vouchers. And in recent years, the VA has not been willing to support additional vouchers coming to this region because they feel like they don't have the capacity to handle the caseload. So the board had asked that we draft a letter for you all's signature to support, to send to our legislative delegation to support or encourage them to support the ability for potentially supporting the VA better and so that we potentially can get more vouchers. So we will send that draft to you all to see, and then we'll move forward with.
I know we had talked about Representative McCall and the two, either.
Brian Kazar.
Sorry, we're gonna send it to the entire legislative delegation.
And is there any other delegations that congressional people that would you think of that we?
Yeah, we have the entire list for that covers this area, so our intent was to send it to all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any extra people that you know may suggest recommend?
No, that sounds really good. I'm looking forward to some of that.
May I add something to your discussion? I just want to add, especially for Ms. Weber, that the main concern that the VA has is that case management capacity. And that's why they've been denying us and not endorsing us. We only have 30 voucher offers that we've been allocated per HUD because of our size of our agency. However, the City of Austin Housing Authority has 781. So the VA has to serve both of us, 781 and our 30. That is the reason why the VA doesn't have that capacity when most of the vouchers are centered with the City of Austin.
The purpose of sending is so they can possibly increase funding to the.
Correct, yeah.
VA to hire more staff to do. More. This has been going on for at least 5 years or more.
More, yeah.
And they have funds available. We just have to get them to push it, and the congressional delegation needs to make it a problem. Not good.
So it's talk joining us?
No, they don't need more vouchers.
We're independent. Hawkins does their own thing. They've got 700 vouchers, so they don't need to worry about getting any more. It's just that we feel like we can serve additional people.
So we work autonomously. I get that. Okay.
I think it's potentially true of how they're facing similar situations like that in my board meeting.
That's correct. Yeah, over the years, we have both. I mean, we communicate with Hawkeye.
But they're not joining our letter to the congressional delegation.
Not this in particular, I mean. That wasn't a plan per se, in this iteration, although there's definitely. Mutual support for such, and I think they've taken some means to do similar. That's from my understanding.
This year, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Is that any way, NARO could possibly send in a copy of the letter to NARO? Because they do legislative lobbying.
Yeah. We can do that.
Is there something you can agree with?
I appreciate what Mr. Roberts said about the caseload at the VASH firm, former VASH case manager myself. And and there is a bottleneck in hiring more. It's hard on both sides of that equation. So I endorse the letter for the same.
We did it okay, Dan, for the send it to NARO.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's any more leverage we can use, because it's really about freeing up.
Can you explain to Ms. Weber what NARO is?
So there's two major organizations, national organizations that are who advocate for housing authorities in particular. NARO is one of them, the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials. They also have a local state affiliate for NARO and regional affiliates. And so we are we participate in national NARO, Texas NARO, and then Southwest NARO, which is 7 states within this region. And so the other organization, there's actually one other, but we don't participate in that one. But the other organization is FADA, which stands for Public Housing Authority Directors Association. They are also national. They don't have a state affiliate per se, but they do also, those two organizations primarily lobby HUD, are the lobbying organization for affordable housing, similar to what TAP and CALFA do in relation to tax credits, so if you're familiar with those. The other one is CLAPA, which is the Council of Large Public Housing Authorities, which we don't technically qualify for because we're a smaller agency. They also lobby on behalf of housing authorities as well. So they have every year there's a meeting in Washington, DC, and then there's a day on the Hill where we go and meet with your respective legislative person. In addition to once a year, we'll meet at the state capitol here in Austin, and we'll try to lobby for housing policy. So those are the two organizations.
And last month we had Christina was talking about a budget that she had to have spent like $75,000 spent by June 30th. Can you give us an update on that?
Yes, and we have a report in the packet if you want to go to that now.
If you can go
Yeah, we'll go to that.
to the-
We have a memo and
Budget.
and a budget.
I'll go over the memo, but if you can have the budget up, that'd be great.
These are minutes.
So Miss Olivia, who's our new social worker, who started in April, Miss Bumper, she's not here today. She was out sick today, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this for her. Should be the next one.
That's
Next
right,
one.
This is it. That's it.
Yeah. There should be an attachment.
Well, do you want to go to the memo or the attachment?
That's-
Oh, okay. All right.
Here.
Okay, so first I want to say, so Olivia, when she came on board in April, she did 2 things that was very significant. One, she created a survey, sent it out and received feedback from it, which is amazing. Got it pretty quickly. Immediately got on the phone, started talking to clients, and then she also did home visits to everybody that she could reach. She's still in the process of doing home visits now. She hasn't reached everybody. And so some of those needs that came out of those 2 things were basic things that we talked about, which was food, coordination of medical appointments, right? Credit issues and moving expenses. Those were some of the things that we already have spent on, and that's going to be your top category. So those are actual costs that we've already spent money on. So some of the ideas that came in this board meeting and then throughout our conversations with our community partners was moving packages or bulk gift cards for our clients. So moving packages are actually not eligible items. We could not spend money in those items are not part of the budget. We cannot do those things. And we cannot do gift cards. So those were out. But actions that we did take moving forward and what we're doing in these next 30 days is 1, because we identified that there was a need for our specific clients to be transported to their appointments, to be coordinated, really help them pick up the phone, identify who's their doctor, who can they go see, and then take them to those appointments. We are first and foremost going to purchase a vehicle by the end of this month to take care of that. That vehicle will serve 2 purposes. 1, client transportation, and 2, transportation of services for the clients, right? So we're looking at something like the truck, something more convenient for that purpose.
And
The other thing,
before you move on.
yes,
With the truck,
yes.
there needs to be a driver. So are you proposing that someone here would she be the one? Who's going to drive the truck?
It can only be driven by COC funded employees.
That's
So we're gonna look at the before. Nobody else. We have to track mileage. It's a very extensive process. I've already talked to our field office. Yeah, we have to track a lot. But there's some community partners that are already doing it. There's, I think it was LifeWorks that purchased 2 vans and have been very successful and have had no issues with the field office, as long as you're tracking everything. We have also identified, and Olivia has identified some pretty significant medical expenses, that clients like oxygen tanks, I think it might even be up there. Yeah, pretty significant things that we weren't aware that these clients were missing. And she actually went to them and scheduled appointments for them. Moving expenses still tends to be the highest cost up there. So prior to us getting this budget line item, we weren't able to provide that, and now we're able to help clients. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm still kind of, so how are you gonna balance? Have you looked at how much time you're devoting to transporting these people and how that affects what she is responsible for day to day in the office?
Yeah, she's trying to right now, she's trying to budget her time and make sure that she has enough time to do in office filing paperwork and processing files. And then also what days she's going to serve for going out to actually take the clients to their appointments. If they need transportation assistance or contacting landlords to assist them with applications and going to fill out applications for the clients and picking them up. She's actually in the process of trying to budget her time, figure out her time schedule, and figure out what would be like and what days she could actually go out and transport clients if they need that.
So it did more than just her though. I heard you say.
So I do, sister, I have, before we had this budget line item, I was only a handful, maybe like 5 clients I was assisting because I don't have the time. I did not have the time to sit there and.
But we also don't have the support
We
service.
didn't have that.
All we had was placement.
Yeah.
Budget. So that's what Victoria has been and was taking care of.
Yeah, so now that we do, we are, so I'm still in the process of training Olivia with the, like the processing of each file and certifying the clients with their vouchers. But eventually she will have all of that, but I am still assisting her with this before we're in complete transition.
And back to your original question, that might play into it,
Mhm.
whether we transfer those case management to her or not, and whether she's able to do that, because she's pretty busy now.
She's pretty busy, yeah.
That's what I was getting because it's taken us so long to get her here,
Mhm.
right? To have her devoted to transporting.
It could take a whole day.
It absolutely can. So that's why I was wondering if, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how that balances and how it plays out. And if this becomes a full-time job for someone else, depending on,
Sure.
that's.
Just a quick question on the restrictions on the grant. And the truck be used for home visits or only the transport? Oh, great. So what she's already doing, she can do in the truck. And is there a requirement for driver's training?
No. None at all. And the other big item, which I'm not sure if you all were aware of, that comes out of this budget line item is for salary and benefits. So from that 75,000 is also paid for salary and benefits. So as we move into the next grant, we're going to have to consider the full salary and benefits for the year, because she just started in April. And then also what that would look like for the cost of the vehicle, gas, right?
And insurance liability.
And insurance and taxes and things like that. Yeah, and that is
Because
because
now you're transporting someone else that's not your employees.
yeah, and that is covered under the budget, the insurance. And stuff.
Is there any way to, when we supply for the future budget, look at getting a driver for 1 or 2 days a week, maybe for 5 or 6 hours?
That's a thought.
Yeah.
Hadn't thought about that. You mean another employee who would just do transportation? Okay.
Yeah, and dedicate a couple of days a week.
Yeah, I think-
Out to most
That's a good
days
thought,
that
yeah.
they're-
Yeah, I mean, we had certainly, obviously, we have the new budget coming up and we're gonna be sort of monitoring what the next 3 months and seeing how that works and adjusting accordingly. As Christina suggested, this required a budget adjustment in order to accommodate this new thought we had about this approach. So we certainly will be sort of looking at that and trying to figure out what makes sense model wise in terms of the approach, and then asking for permission. So we're sort of, and this is sort of experimental stage, quite frankly, obviously, it's new. So we will have to sort of look at it and talk with our partners, the colleagues about how their approaches as well. And that's a good thing about the COC program. There is quite a network of support. You know, of folks coming together and talking about like what's been working, best practices and such. So we certainly will continue to do that as we look at the best way to deliver the services.
Right, I feel a little bit selfish being that we just got her. And she
Don't hire her out.
Yeah, we want to keep her. We will, yeah, we'll make sure. We'll make sure.
I
that-
would not want to use her time.
Yeah, well, she's smart. She's not gonna, she speaks her mind. So yeah, she won't.
She's definitely so excited to be here and she wants to.
Yeah.
Is there, can we farm some of this out to some of the other entities that have transportation too to help with the workload?
There is a possibility to do that. It's not the best practice. In right, I mean, the idea is great, but I mean, the actual part of it, we would have to go through the field office, we'd have to get approval, they'd be our subcontractor or sub whatever.
That's it, contract, but maybe there are other people that apply providing those services. So when her commitment is over, just reach out to.
The other resources, yeah, definitely. And I think she has a handful. I know she's already giving bus passes and writing those. And I know she's trying to identify who else can help in that capacity right now. And so she's taking on a lot, and she's doing great.
And then we still have the transportation for the buses and things of that nature, am I correct?
The bus passes, yeah, I mean, what we're talking about here is typically, I mean, require a little more intervention as opposed to just giving them.
But like I said, if you get overbooked.
Oh, yeah, and she's already doing that. I mean, she's been providing them, you know, those things, but what we're talking about here is another level of intervention in terms of needing additional support for, you know.
And I hear what you're saying. The only thing I'm saying is let's try to use.
Of course, yeah, she's, like I said, she's very sharp, so she's been doing that, yeah. So you'll be very impressed, yeah, she's been, yeah, she's.
So I see your total is like 71,000. What's happening with the? Because I want to spend every dime.
So do I.
Every dime that's $75,000.
So those yellow items there are items that we just are not sure of yet, right? So we're just kind of leaving that kind of open. I should get some good idea by next week of what the vehicle purchase would look like. And that way we can take it from there.
All right, so I would like to request that next meeting, you come back and show us what actually took place. So this is a projection on it.
It is. Now, I will say it still won't be at 100% accurate because we have 2 months after our grant ends to reconcile everything that we need to. So it still won't be 100% accurate, but there'll be.
But you should have a receipt that's gonna track
Yes.
most of the spending.
Yes.
That would be good.
For sure.
Maybe super.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
I just think it's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to hearing the reports from her. Also results of the canvas and the polling she did. I'm sure the transportation will be good. We can get all the shows way at the top. So yeah, I'm really excited about this.
And I think what's beautiful to see is these clients were prior homeless and most of them never had a home ever. And this is the first time. So they're now that they see her, they're getting to know her. Now they're getting more familiar with her. They're asking for things. And that's really nice to see them really be their self-advocate for, hey, I need this. I never knew I needed this. No, I didn't know I needed this. So it's nice.
And just another thought that I think that would be great, is if we could get a few testimonials to add to our website. Yeah, right, I think, it would be great. You know, advertising, I guess, or just marketing information for Travis County.
Great idea, yeah. Victoria, I'm gonna take some time here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions about affordable housing? I mean, I'm sorry, for voucher programs? Anyone? Okay.
Anyone?
Okay, we'll move on to affordable housing. That's Carlos. So Carlos, we have Ms. Weber, our new board member. So if there are like acronym heavy, you might want to explain what they are.
So this month, we are working with Ben, with FNH, as well as with Don, with Northfield Designs to continue working on TDHCA's final construction efficiencies. We are actually rounding all parties to meet no later than next week to discuss the remaining items and the due date for each item. So hopefully we'll have a better timeline of those, although all items must be completed by September 13th of 2023, and that's something that we will have a clear understanding with Ben as well as with Don.
So essentially explain why we are doing this in terms of the deficiencies. What are you, again, Ms. Weber, just provide a little context in terms of how we got here.
Yes, so we actually received a notification from TDACA, which is the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, so that we can get what's called the UPCS inspection, as well as a final construction inspection for CRAD Oaks, which is Alexander Oaks and Summit Oaks. They completed both inspections at the same time because we finished what's called renovating those units. And so once they came, they figured out there was a couple of deficiencies that needed to be addressed. And so as of today, we have a deadline of September 13th that TDACA set so that we can complete all these items. Yes, ma'am.
Are there any in particular that you're looking at as a challenge to meet that deadline?
I'm sorry.
Could you describe?
Yeah, so in particular, it will be with those ADA units. And those ADA units are the ones that are handicap accessible. There are a couple of measurements that are completely off from the actual design. So we will have to get Dawn with Northfield Designs to go in there and help adjust since some of those walls will need to be moved in order to meet those measurement requirements for them. Although, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. More specifically in the kitchen area, that's where they found those items. And also in the bathrooms as well, some of the toilet grab bars need to be weren't installed. And so we need to make some adjustments as well to the length of the back wall of it. Again, everything's already done, so we need to have Ron go in there, redesign it and see what FNH can actually do to get that done. Those are the hardest ones that we have. We will be facing. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions in regards to that?
Any questions from?
No, just updates would be appreciated,
Definitely.
especially if we're going to overcome those challenges.
Yes, of course. After we meet with Dawn and Ben, I should be able to give you guys a better understanding of things and a better timeline of those items as well. And see how their work is going to be progressing throughout the time. And the next thing that I will be focusing on is continuing monitoring the progress at Maintown, the stairwell issue, as well as aiding those temporarily relocated tenants. Our residents are currently staying at the hotel. We have to move them up through June 9th. Due to certain items being prolonged. More specific, it's the temporary stairs that need to be at the site in order to bring back those tenants. I did get information that we should receive it by this Sunday. They are continuing work throughout the entire weekend. The June 9th is just, they gave us a little bit more of a wiggle room in order for them to complete the work. It could be done before then. So hopefully it gets done. But I'll get either daily updates or updates from ASD consultants as soon as I get them, of course. And then also, I am needing to let you guys know that it appears that there may be additional work to be done over at Maintown. It seems like some of the wood beams and the porch is deteriorating. I did see some pictures, but I am waiting on an actual report from the engineering company, so that we can get the full report this time.
Back to the relocated tenants, is there some kind of compensation or support package for folks that are?
Yes,
Can you describe it?
of course. So at the beginning, we had them just gather their receipts. And so we were gonna go ahead and refund them, but we've also given them gift cards. I'm actually scheduled tomorrow to give them additional gift cards so that they can spend it on any of their necessities at this time. We're also assisting with transportation needs, for some of them do need certain transportation and any other additional requests that they may have.
Any comments?
How many people have been relocated?
11. And then the final item is, with Carlton. So I'm gonna be assuring this transition, it goes smooth. Their transition is going to be effective July 1st. We are scheduled, we do have scheduled weekly meetings. Gabrielle's assisting gathering and uploading those documents that they requested. Today, actually, I'm scheduled to meet with Cynthia, the regional manager. I'm taking them out to all properties so that they can get familiarized with them as well.
I do have a question. I know that we have inspections that are being done at these properties, but when we talk about like Maynard Town, why were those issues not caught during the inspection of the property?
We
They
had,
are pretty severe.
yeah, we had an actual TDACA inspector go out there, but they didn't find any of those findings either. Typically, they would look for those, but the issues happened afterwards. We were seeing a lot of cracks happening on the concrete, more specific towards the stairwells. And so we were kind of monitoring where that was going. Unfortunately, it actually cracked. One of the beams actually came off, and that's when we had the engineers go out there.
So how soon after?
It was right the next day that we had contacted them. We contacted a few. And a couple of days after, they were able to meet me on site so we can perform that inspection.
So give me the timeline. So THC inspectors came out and visited you.
That was last year.
last
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't have those exact dates, but I can get them to you.
Okay, and then cracks were found.
They were actually, I have them here on my phone, sorry, but Alfred, our previous maintenance technician, was the one that sent me those pictures. As soon as I got those pictures, I was
Yeah, those cracks weren't identified by TDHC, if that's what they're asking.
no, because
They,
none of that was
those were,
actually
they
there.
didn't identify those. Our staff identified that there were those cracks and then, yeah, so if you're asking why did they miss it in the inspection?
No, not why. I just, I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand the sequence of how long, and then if we're doing our own, because the one thing that we don't want to have happen with these properties is, you know, having major issues like this, because major issues like that don't just pop up. Right? I mean, they develop over time.
Right.
And so,
There has been a lot of shifting
Yes.
in that area, that whole main area was built on farmland and sand. And with the heat and the rain that we have, there's been consistent amount of fracking in that area. And so I think that's over the year
that's,
tension, that's what's happening.
yeah, and that's my point is because it gets to be expensive.
Yes, it does.
Right, when we start doing repairs at the most critical point.
Yep.
And so the least expensive way, we may think that we're saving money by not having our own inspection independent of THC,
Right.
right? So, you know, my thought is we probably want to just look at some of the properties independent of THC to make sure
Right.
that we're not seeing anything major. That may require having a third-party inspector to just, you know, once a year.
Yeah.
That we go and look at these properties and give our own internal report and not depend on THC to give us an audit.
Right.
And then we're in react mode.
Right. We would rather be proactive than reactive.
Exactly.
That's the point. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, perhaps what we do when we start looking at our budget for 2024
Yes.
is we include in our budget third-party inspections of our properties.
Yeah. I'm also actually looking into UPCS inspections as well myself for training. That way I can get in those and see exactly what to look at. Now with the third-party management coming in, I'm having the time to actually go to the properties and inspect those properties myself and look for those specific needs. That way, if it'll save money as well on that end, regardless, we can still gather those third-party coming out here so they can give us a second eye on those things as well.
So,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
The only thing I was saying is, I would say it's cheaper to repair than to replace. So, it's important to do what Ms. Brown is pointing out.
Yes.
In inspecting and identifying those issues there.
Yes,
So Super, if you could just take a note. And when we start planning our budget, which should be coming up pretty soon, right, that we have a line item included for third-party inspections on these properties.
And if you could put a contingency in there for possible repairs, we may use it, we may not use it, but, some line item for that.
And maybe for your training, if you
Yeah.
want to pursue that.
Yeah.
Inspector, like you said. Helpful.
So I should assume that those things will be approved when you see them again.
Yeah, we should have. a
Yeah,
budget.
especially if we put a reason by it. You just can't say, I'm gonna take a vacation to Kiwi.
I think he needs to go to Cabo to go and training.
I have a quick question also. So I also have been looking at what are the measures of conditions on the properties, and we're having a tutorial from Mr. Howard on who is inspecting these properties this week, and so I did understand that TDHCA is doing the annual performance report, the APR, but that's what you're saying, did not detect these, and then the more reports are very limited, is that correct? So we're not expecting another more report on these properties?
not at the moment, no.
So then there's the gap.
Yes.
that, which I was also noticing in my analysis. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other question?
So I have one
Yes.
other question. This is a financial question. for you.
Okay.
Because the repair itself
Yes.
is going to cost us X number of dollars. But in addition to that, we're putting the tenants in a hotel
Yes,
is also costing us.
yes, it is.
And what is the budget set aside for?
That, I don't know the exact number, but we're also contacting our insurance company so that they can help us with the cost.
So the true answer is, we didn't budget for it because it was an emergency.
Absolutely.
But we are obviously monitoring the cost. I think to date, we've spent with the relocation.
Coming in, it's just coming in.
Yeah, the bills are coming in right now.
Town already gets a contribution from central office, from the HATC central office, because it's never been able to.
It doesn't break even, no.
Because there's a large note on Town. And the rents are low too at Town. So I think, for the current year, I think the contribution is like $80,000 that central office gives to Town to break even. So because of all this repairs and relocation, at the end of the year, we probably need to get another contribution from central office to get Town balance.
And then it also says then that we should probably, from a budget perspective, set aside some emergency funds. If we don't have any.
Right.
But
Yeah, and we call those reserves, but we haven't, and obviously that's a discussion. I'm glad you guys are bringing all those things up, because we will have them, can certainly include those. Again, the Maynard Town obviously doesn't ever break even based on decisions that have been made about the rents and things like that. So obviously it would be appropriate to have a robust discussion about how we continue to sustain the property, obviously, given the fact that the age of the property and that the rents, obviously don't really support operations as it needs to. So we certainly can make sure that we come to you with some information about what that might look like going forward.
Well, I think
And it's not a break even at 100% occupancy. It's not just because it's a.
Even at 100%, the rents are very low.
Yeah.
And again, the previous predecessors have decided, that we weren't gonna raise rent, so even at 100%. It would still not break even, not given where the rents are currently.
Yeah, these are lowly, very low subsidized units, and of course, The project is 20 years old.
The repairs are going up.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, this will be a great, we'll definitely want to see when this is all done and they're back in their units.
Yeah.
How much we spent.
Okay.
On this whole process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just, for Christina, because the transition happened really fast, but Christina, on page 25 is the line that I was asking about at the last board meeting about how under the subsidies heading, how there's some problem with our billing for subsidies because of the software problem. It remains on every report on page 20. So
Can we go to page 25 so I can see what you're referring to?
This is affordable housing. 25?
yes, it's under subsidy.
Okay, because 25 is affordable housing.
Well, on my boardable packet, sorry, it's on page 25 out of 55 on this method and subsidy. I guess I'll just keep it on my computer.
No, let me look and see if I can tell you what I can tell. Let's put it, okay, that's actually under affordable housing. Yeah, it's under affordable
Okay,
housing.
okay, so
under
it
Carlos.
is.
That's actually
Okay.
under Carlos.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it is
that's on-
affordable
that's
housing.
page, yes, that's page.
Okay.
So
That's affordable housing.
Vouchers, currently the software HATC uses isn't compatible with the system.
And that is how, sorry.
No, I'm just wondering how that's going.
Yeah, no, so we were first, whenever we found the issue, we hired a third-party company to actually get that going and speed that process. Now with Carlton coming in, we don't have to change our software. That's why Christina and them will continue to use it. Now Carlton will have a new software, I don't remember the name of it, but theirs is compatible with us.
So should we delete this one?
Yeah, that should be updated, to be honest. That comment should probably be
Thank you.
changed. Yes, that is.
But that's how it is on, yes.
I appreciate that.
And the voucher is all caught up to the every month on time.
So the revenue stream is open and working.
Yes.
The problem was the software, the current software was, when you get behind, it couldn't catch up, it couldn't do the right calculations.
At length about 6 months ago, but after hearing.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's why we got the.
It needs to be updated.
Do the voucher first.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Carlos.
Yes.
I think we're ready for.
real estate. So the next we'll try to brief by exception, but they won't be long. So we're gonna go to real estate development. Yeah. Yes. I'm sure is that hard. Okay, this is the time where
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Ms. Weber, congratulations and welcome aboard. My name is Keith Allpower. I'm the asset manager for the House Minority and other entities. This will be brief. Eastern Oaks is a project that we completed some time ago. However, we were not able to draw down some of the funds that were allocated for that through Department of Housing and Community Affairs due to the need to get construction completed. So those funds were paid out of our equity. This was during COVID and the ice storm. And TDHCA was pretty much shut down as far as their ability to do inspections or do any kind of process payments. So we have been working diligently to get our $2 million from TDHCA. And it has been a long, difficult process, but we were able to get some additional management at TDHCA involved in this upstream. And I had some communication with them last week. And we reached an agreement whereby TDHCA will go ahead and process 90% of the draw for payment. We expect to have that within the next 30 days. And that will be about 1.8 million. The remaining 10%, they will hold as a retainage, because at the time of the project going through to completion, TDHCA was not conducting inspections because of resource availability. And so that final inspection was never performed. So they may want to do a final inspection, they may not, but that last $200,000 is kind of their fail safe to make sure that those items get addressed. But we do expect to receive finally receive 1.8 million of the 2 million this month.
Right, and have they even done a punch list for you to?
No, they haven't done any inspection. They perform no inspections on site.
They've been shut down for almost 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And on your own inspection, what's your sense of whether we're in compliance?
I think generally we are in compliance. The only issue I see is there may be an ADA issue, getting to one of the amenity sections of the property. And there may be some work required to get that addressed. But we need them to do that inspection first to know whether that is going to be required.
Well, if you see it now, excuse me for interrupting, well, why shouldn't we go ahead on and address it? Once we get the funds in to do it.
I don't think that there's any problem once we get the funds in to do it, but up to this point, it has been it's been a factor with that.
Yeah.
So that is the reason for my response on that.
I would just recommend going ahead and doing it as soon as we get
Certainly.
1.8.
And we
Yeah.
still have the original engineer on board with us on that project. So that and the original contractor, so we shouldn't have any issues going back to them to get anything accomplished.
So is it caused by a lack of design, or was it caused by the ADA issue? Did the engineers or architects miss that portion of the design, or was it not done properly?
I'm going to say that it was probably something that the architect did not catch when they were doing their ADA review of the plans. But on this project, we had an independent ADA person come out and perform an analysis on that property. Then they did look at common areas and the accessibility to common areas. But I don't think that this was picked up. And so if it is an issue, then we will be able to address it out of the remaining funds.
So why would we have to pay the architect if it was something that
That
they're
is,
liable? We shouldn't, that's something that sits in their lap. So we shouldn't have to pay extra for that work.
that will be a discussion that we will have to have with the architect at that time. And at this point, we did not have the funds to address it. We weren't even sure it was going to be necessarily an issue. It's out to a basketball court out on the site. So we are aware that may become an issue, but we were waiting for the inspection to take place to make sure it's required for us to address.
But you said you had a third party
Mhm.
person review the ADA inspection, so you've already been notified by this third party.
We were not notified with regard to that particular item. What they did in their analysis was to go through and make sure that all of the sidewalks within the, I would say, the campus of the property between buildings and parking areas, that all of those had an accessible route for every building. We spent an enormous amount of money on concrete to put in new ramps, new railings, things like that to address those. Trying to be brief here, but I want it to be clear. This property was developed back in the very early 1980s, possibly, and so some of the things are kind of grandfathered in that don't have to be addressed. Some of those items we addressed anyway. So it's, like I say, it's this one item that's outstanding that we need to see if that's going to be a requirement based on the age of the property and when it was originally developed.
In short, the city has also modified their requirements for ADA since 1980, but that's the short version of it.
Yes, so, yes, ma'am. Oh, okay. Okay. So that is the only issue that I'm aware of that's outstanding on that property.
So the architect that was in place and the engineer, they were in place back in the 80s. Or just recently?
Just recently when we decided to do the renovation, and it was a studs out renovation of the entire property. Yes.
Just a quick question on that renovation of the property that's not to be pointed out to me. Can you describe just generally what were the major pieces of that expenditure, and have you inspected those areas post?
We have inspected those. The city has inspected those areas as well.
An example?
An example would be from an accessibility standpoint, or just the rest of the construction. All of those divisions of construction were addressed and approved as the project moved forward with the city. As far as quick breakdown of the scope, we took everything down to the studs.
It was a good rehab. It was substantial.
And it includes new roofs, new sheetrock, new appliances, new countertops, new flooring.
In passing code
At each interval.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
If I may, and I know we're gonna wrap this up, but I mean, we got our certificate of occupancy. When it comes to, as Keith was saying about grandfathering or using the International Building Code or the EIBC or which one applies in ADA, there is sometimes an issue of interpretation in terms of the requirement, with section 504. So what he's making reference to is a notion that we were thinking that there is a possibility, depends on how it's interpreted, what may or may not be something that we have to address. But to Mr. Bulmer's point, we will look and figure out what that cost may be and may like to move forward, with or without there being a finding or identification of such. But it's multiple parties looking at it and thinking there may be an issue depending on who's inspecting it or how they interpret the requirement in terms of if those things need to be in place or not related to that basketball court and getting access to that amenity. So that's why the answer is not exactly clear as it relates to that, because it depends on who you ask and the interpretation of which code trumps what in terms of the interpretation.
And once we receive payment, then we'll be able to address that. Depending on what we're.
Yeah, and we certainly can move forward with that.
Any other questions on that? Okay. Very quickly, Maynardtown Apartments, you have for your edification, we have a longer report that's contained in the board book that'll give you some background information on that development. This is phase 2 of the original Maynardtown Apartments that Carlos was speaking of earlier. We have broken ground on that property. We had an excellent groundbreaking ceremony here about a week ago, very well attended. Currently, there is a huge hole in the ground out there. They are doing, the excavation needed to go down about 7 or 8 feet. And then because of the soil conditions, as Commissioner Roberts was speaking of out there, that will be refilled, with, a material that will stabilize to make sure the slab and building are stabilized, on their site. And that is going forward and should take place within the next 30 days. There was an outstanding issue with the TCESD, is the Travis County Emergency Services Division Department. They have oversight over the approval of any kind of fire related issues, fire lines for water, sprinkler systems, things of that nature. We have received approval for the fire line, so that is taken care of. There are some final plan notes that our architect and engineer are addressing with the city right now, and they have already supplied them with responses to that and made changes onto the plans. These are during very small detailed items that are caught, and those are being addressed. We expect that to be completed in the next 30 days as well. None of these things will stop us with being able to go forward with construction on the property. We're still some time out from going vertical, but progress is working. It is steady. I was out on site yesterday, and the contractor is doing their job. Everything is moving forward. We expect our first full draw sometime this month. We don't know when. And very quickly, we will do formal draw inspections where the architect will be on site with the contractor and myself. Every time that the contractor is ready to take request. We have also been in touch with both of our funding sources, which is Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation and Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation provided us $250,000 in funding, and they are preferring that their funds go into the project first. So I would say that at least our first 2 draws will heat up that source. And we are already doing what we need to do from an internal standpoint, as far as being able to be in their THCA system to be able to request funds as soon as the draw hits that we need to draw from that source on. So as best we can, we are as current as we can be at this time on being able to draw down funds. And project is expected to be complete in the summer of 24. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Well, but I do have a comment. I wanted to just commend the entire team on the groundbreaking ceremony. It was very well done. Very well done. And I think that just seeing the level of participation from the people that live in the current building and allowed, you guys did an outstanding job. So thank you for all of your hard work and everything that was done. I think everybody that attended really enjoyed it. And it was great to see, all of the constituents from the city of New York participating. So thank you guys.
Thank you. It was truly a team effort, and there was a lot of people moving and scrambling and double checking things to make sure that went off as smoothly as we could possibly make it. So we very much appreciate the recognition, and we look forward to having opportunities to do a few more things like that in the future.
We have a brief video, but in the interest of time, we will email those to you along with some pictures of some of the current work being performed and from the ground. But we will send that to you all via email.
Thank you.
Okay, I know we're sort of running out of time here, but finance and then shortly thereafter, HR and organization development.
Good afternoon. My name is Subra Narayanayu, and I'm the finance director. So these are our top priorities for the next 30 days. The draft audit for the housing authority and strategic is almost there. I just got some minor edits to be done on the draft, and the HATC audit should be should be released in by the end of June, that's what I'm anticipating, or wanting the audit report to be released, and then thereafter the strategic should be released. And the other priority is working on the transition of the properties, the affordable housing properties to Carlton Property Management, so they would take over the, record keeping, the bookkeeping, the property management, and everything would be handled by Carlton. I would like to run through the financials just very quickly.
Okay.
So. It's on page. Page 42.
42.
So what's here is the business activities of the central office, what I'm calling central office cost center. Can you go up a little bit? So this is where the overhead is charged, all the, indirect cost or indirect support staff like myself and Patrick, the IT cost and office cost and office rent and things like that are charged to the central office cost center. We are about where we need to be, and we also get a big contribution to support the central office, which is about $1.4 million. And last year we got it from PCFC, which is Travis County Facilities Corp. And prior years, we used to get it from Strategic, but for the current year, we got it from GCFC. So we are where we need to be. Can we go down to the voucher? So the voucher program is the largest program we have. It's 680 vouchers. And we have been building up the last couple of years, we've been building up the reserves, and we have, as of this audit, as of the audit, 2022 audit, our reserves is about $280,000, which is pretty good for the size of the program. So again, we are where we need to be, and I believe we are about 98% leased, I believe. What?
That's right.
Okay. And so in comparison with Parkers, I think it's about 85% leased, and we're also always on the deficit. So we are doing very well with this program. Can we go down to the next one? Mainstream emergency housing vouchers, we are where we need to be. There are very small reserves. So as we lease up more vouchers, we'll have more administrative fee coming to us. But right now, this is since we are not fully leased up, it's just about breaking even. And the next page, can you go down to the next page? That is okay. Next, go down. Continuum of care. This grant, the current grant ends in end of this month, and we should be getting a new grant. And this grant, it works as a grant where if you don't spend the money, you have to give it back to HUD. Whereas the other programs like voucher and mainstream and EHV, we earn an administrative fee for each voucher that you release. So the administrative fee is yours to be used however you like. So you can build up a reserve and use administrative fees. Whereas this, you don't have a reserve or anything. Can we go down to the next page, 46? 46. Okay, this is, now we come to the properties. Eastern Oaks, which is a 30-unit property, which was people just talking about. We are waiting for a rehab was done, and I believe we are waiting for the funds were advanced initially from Strategic to do the renovations. So we are waiting for funds to get, so that we can reimburse ourselves. So it is running a small deficit because of our vacancies and also because the rents are low. And also I had to do a pretty large write-off of uncollectible rents of that debt. That is just an estimated amount, but it's running a small deficit.
So Super, how much did strategic provide in terms of funds?
I provided 1.7.
So if we get 1.8 million and 1.7 goes back to strategic.
Yeah, actually, I have actually kind of moved the money around because strategic needed money for various things. So I actually put the debt in TCFC. So that when we get the money, 1.7 is actually owed to TCFC. So I took TCFC, I advanced TCFC money to strategic, or paid it back to strategic. So when we get the drawdown, you'll pay TCFC instead. Does that make sense?
Yeah. My mom used to call it Robin Peterson K. Paul.
No, Rob. Bad choice of words. No robbing here. It's a counting exercise.
So let me run very quickly. Uniontown, it has a small surplus, but that is gonna be gone because of all the issues with the relocation and additional repairs we have to do. And you can see it gets a contribution of 88,000 to break even. The last time we budgeted, just to break even, we had to contribute 88,000.
So if we overspend the reserve that we have here.
There are no reserves in Uniontown. It just takes 88,000 just to keep it.
Right, remember, Mayortown has no reserves and you're always in the red.
So if we don't get enough TCFC,
CFC.
yeah. THCA to cover the relocation, where's the balance of that expenditure?
For Uniontown, I think the only external source that we possibly could get any money is from the insurance claim.
Well, insurance not gonna cover everything, so
Yeah.
where would the deficit? In anything that they don't cover, where would that deficit funding come from?
It has to come from central office, and central office gets the funding from PCFC. So, yeah. So can you run down to the next schedule, page 48? The top chart is where we are tracking the Maynardtown 2 construction. So nothing much has happened except for some redevelopment costs. And then when we go down, Dawson Creek usually does well because, because the rents are more favorable and we usually get a surplus at Dawson Creek. There's a healthy surplus at Dawson Creek. And it's usually fully occupied. Can we go down to the next one? HATC Foundation, I believe we recently signed a contract with Big Foundation or somebody to provide tenant services for residents. I believe Steve is going to go into that movie. The next schedule is Sea Oaks. This is a tax credit property, one of properties that was converted to tax credit. So technically it's on our books, it's not our property because the investors, they own the asset and they get to take the depreciation and all that. So we are really the property management company for this property, but it was formerly our property, and after the end of the contract, it will come back to us in 20 years' time, or whenever the contract ends. So this is also running in a deficit, because of various reasons, higher vacancies and, the note on this property was a floating rate note. So because of the interest rate, we are paying a higher interest on the note, and also on this cycle of the insurance renewal, it went up like 2.5 times. So that is also a big hit on the property. So, we have kind of discussed all this with property management, so they know, all the issues related to all these, properties, so. They're gonna try to, address in terms of, getting higher rents and, trying to get the units all occupied. So you're gonna ask.
Yeah, that was my concern, because this has been on the charts for a while with the, I guess it's 15 minutes or not. So that's the priority.
15 vacant, yeah, 15, yes. So,
Yes, sorry, and it is a priority that we're doing throughout the entire portfolio itself. So it's not just the vacancy, it's the entire portfolio, all of 5 properties.
And these units are inhabitable.
No, for the most part, most of them are already turned around, so they are pretty much ready. Some of the others are having not. I do only have one maintenance guy right now, so a lot of the emergency workers are popping up. So having to commute is the issue that he's having. Having to commute from top of the property is the issue. It just takes too much time away from him at the moment. But Compton is aware of the issue, and they know exactly how they're gonna be handled.
And that's all I have.
Madam Chair, in the interest of time, do we want to go through organizational development, or do you want to move forward? We have the materials in your packets. If you like, we do need to go to the Facilities Corporation meeting very quickly. How would you want to handle it?
We can do that. We can just.
So we're going to defer to next time.
Everything, including
Yes.
foundation,
Mhm.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're just running severely behind.
Are there any board committee reports? Having none, we'll move on in the new or unfinished business. All right, we'll move on. Is there a need for an executive session? Thank you. All right, with that, is there a motion to adjourn? HATC meeting?
So move.
All in favor? Aye.